Tony Stark demonstrates the Jericho missile but gets abducted by terrorists. With Yinsen's magnet keeping him alive, Stark is forced to build a Jericho. Instead, he builds a chest piece to power a suit and escapes as Yinsen dies. Tony stops weapons manufacture, angering many, then builds a Mark II. Stark avenges Yinsen and the attack on Uncle Mira, but is almost killed by raptors and discovers through Potch that Obadiah was selling his weapons to the same terrorists hired to kill him. Obadiah steals Tony's chest piece to power his own prototype, but Tony defeats him in the final battle and declares, "I am Iron Man."
Hello, darling. This is Writerzeye. Thanks for watching. You are supporting my writing habit, and if you love Spy-Fi and Sci-Fi trilogies, subscribe for your free copy of Volume 1. See details linked below.
Superheroes in films mostly inhabited a universe where they were the only superhero. Iron Man broke down his walls and introduced us to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and a superhero gumbo. So naturally, I took umbrage when a big channel that shall not be named ranked Iron Man 15th on a list below these movies. He was probably taking the piss, having a laugh, who knows, but just in case he wasn't, now hear this. Iron Man is a film with the same gravitas as the original Matrix or the importance of Mission Impossible 2. It is a film that carries the hopes and dreams of other films and comics that might themselves one day become films. From Histoire de Monsieur Villebois by Rudolf Topher in 1837, known as The Adventures of Obadiah Oldbuck in English, to The Yellow Kid in McFadden's Flats in 1897, or The Famous Funnies, to today's graphic novels. All of them, Iron Man with his cutting-edge special effects carried their hopes and dreams. And even if you didn't grow up reading Combat, Hotshot Hamish, Mighty Mouse, and Curious Patrol strips, you at least read or heard about Marvel Comics, so when Iron Man blasted its way onto the screen in 2008, like me, you were excited. Good Lord, you were excited.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
And as far as I'm concerned, that was the first time Marvel really made a foray into movies. Yes, we'd seen Spider-Man, Hulk, but none of these incursions to Hollywood seemed fully committed or realized until then. Or rather, until then. I was going for deep, dark, and dramatic there. You think that worked?
No!
That's not confident inspiring, is it? You lost your button then, darling. Piss off. We had a few iterations of Spider-Man and Hulk at this point, and Edward Norton's Hulk would have been the bearer of the standard had he not shared the stage with RDJ's Iron Man, because Iron Man was nearly perfect in its execution, which is why most of us were a wee bit disappointed at the limp asparagus they churned out afterwards, culminating in the Endgame gumbo. Marvel Studios was new back then, of course, guided strongly by a pure pedigree in storytelling, honed by decades of comic strips. Wholly unaffected by Hollywood, I thought. Bravo, that's right, ain't it? Go on then, Marvel, show 'em how it's done, yeah? Show 'em how to make a movie, yeah? Alas, the malaise would soon set in, bringing us films like these. Films with splendid special effects and weak writing.
Fatality.
Iron Man wins.
From books and writing gurus I donated money to, I got almost 300 tips that I distilled down to 20 essential guiding tenets, 10 of which I deem utterly unbreakable, such that to break 3 or more of these unbreakable laws invariably breaks a film. I call these cinema laws, partly inspired by cinema sins and cinema wins, except we tried to focus on the craft of writing, which should be sorted out long before the camera rolls. So, garbage or gold? Let's find out. Stop.
Before we start, would you say Iron Man is a very simple story? Well, if you said yes, you'd be right. With only 6 major plot points, it's not plot-driven at all. Only 6 major plot points? Yes, darling, but let me ask you this. Who is your favorite character in the MCU? Did you perchance say Iron Man? Yeah?
No!
No? Alright, is he at least in your top 5? What if I told you that we had no choice but to love Tony Stark, that they worked overtime getting us to like him? Oh yeah, darling, we were practically assaulted with his virtues and charm, with his vices in a 29-step salvo that was so subtle you missed it, but really you didn't. And this is why. Much like cat fur, Iron Man is a character vehicle, so it opens with what I call hybrid direct and indirect characterization / in media res. I call it hybrid direct because on the page, as it would be written in a screenplay or a novel, appearance and such would be considered direct characterization, where the writer tells us how they look. But cinematically, this leans into indirect because we have to make inferences about what we see. We see and estimate his age, we see his trendy but incongruous attire, his stylish grooming and props too. Whiskey in a war zone. I mean, who sips whiskey in a Humvee in a war zone? That alone speaks volumes if his out-of-place designer suit doesn't. We're hooked. For wholesome indirect,
Next, they show us how people react to Stark and how he interacts with them.
So it's personal?
No, you intimidate them.
Then they have others tell us about Stark. They discuss his exploits.
Is it true you went 12 for 12 with last year's maximum cover model?
The group dynamic becomes apparent through the ensuing dialogue.
You're kidding me with the hand up, right?
Is it cool if I take a picture with you?
Yes!
Very apparent. At the top is the hyper-successful Playboy demigod basking in the adulation of the intimidated phony fanboys.
No gang signs.
And the possibly overcompensating soldier airman.
No, throw it up, I'm kidding. Yeah, peace. I love peace. I'll be out of a job with peace.
And bang, we have contact. So subtle, you almost missed it. Great tradecraft is invisible to the average viewer, just like great cinematography that doesn't draw attention to itself. But don't worry, as a viewer, your vigilant, all-seeing subconscious mind misses nothing, and it leaks the emotional function of the scene to your conscious mind. So what did they do in this scene? Well, what they've done here is give us something to latch onto, a rapid orientation before they get blown to smithereens. They're not just stoic, nameless soldiers anymore. Though they remain unnamed, they humanize them a little, so we care a little. They're people. Fans of celebrities just like you and I, people with social media and retirement accounts doing their job protecting the free world. Could they have started the film with a traditional in media res opening and gone straight to the contact? Yes, but we'd miss all of this, an integral part of Tony's motivation and arc of transformation. As it is, their deaths would go on to haunt Stark in captivity and beyond. These are soldiers he talked to, partly bonded with, killed with his own weapons. This isn't just a nameless, giddy young soldier snuffed out in his prime anymore. They connected. A great example of where a traditional in media res opening ruins a film is Infinite. Tragedy strikes in the opening and we don't care because we have nothing to latch onto. We don't know what the egg is, nor do we know who the tragedy is befalling. But don't worry, this is Iron Man. And I assure you, it is not rank 15 in the MCU. The true measure of a story is in the structure, plot coherence, psychological and physical verisimilitude, and overall entertainment value. By that measure, Iron Man comes ranked second in my top 5. There's only one other film in the universe that I rate over it. Only one. Sadly, MCU films that violated this unified cinema law made more money at the box office, partly due to, I don't know, fan-based FOMO and marketing magic. The most important bomb blast in the MCU. No injury, no chess piece, no Iron Man. In 2008, we're only 7 years removed from 9/11 at this point, so the blindfold, the harsh guttural Arabic, and the masked gunman spoke volumes with a mere drop. Less than 5 minutes in and it's fasten your seatbelts, lads. Don't hurt. There's a central question on deck, or some semblance of it. All systems are go. We already care about Tony Stark. We read the comics, saw the trailers, but Marvel didn't take that for granted, and rightly so, because not everyone watching was a legacy fan. For the benefit of those who never read any of the comics, we're having this exposition bio backstory amalgam cleverly disguised as an honor highlight reel at an Apogee Awards ceremony in Vegas. Brilliant! We even get to meet the best friend and the antagonist with a name like Obadiah Stane with the stain of Cain. We knew Obladi Oblada, Kumbaya, when our songs feature on his iPod.
Daddy, what's an iPod?
This ancient device, now retired in the Smithsonian, is an iPod.
The best thing about Tony is also the worst thing. He's always working.
Ooh, the obvious service with earpiece thingies. Ooh, nice that is. While the scene in a Humvee etch-a-sketched a faint outline of the philandering billionaire playboy, this scene Picasso's it with the obvious service watching as the Pulitzer fitching attack dog becomes bedkill. I've never been attacked like that, you say. Repeat after me. I am not Tony Stark. And that laugh, mate, I'd pay for that. None of us are Tony Stark, darling, but we loves him. And this is not your daddy's house. Bloody hell, look at that spread.
Now we see Tony, hands-on, believability through the roof. He taught the talk, and now he's talking a wrench.
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
You're welcome, Miss Potts. I told him I was sorry, but he was
Hot towel. Oh, no one's ever said hot towel to me like that, you say.
Repeat after me. I am not Tony Stark.
Hot sake, hot sake.
Mental cruelty.
No, you don't know. No.
You dirty little git. You got your mind in a gutter.
I like how Tony gets biblical here. Jericho, as in the halls of Jericho. And as that Humvee door closes shut in 16 minutes, we're all caught up. The full weight and magnitude of who just got abducted is right upon us. Brilliant storytelling.
Yinsen bonds with Stark and motivates Tony to create the miniature arc reactor to power his heart in the prototype, but raises suspicion, leading to the threat, which in turn necessitates the expedited escape sequence. A great story has a cause and effect domino reaction where one scene detonates the next and the next and the next. You see that throughout this film. There are a few cheats in there, but besides those, nothing is random, nothing is wasted, there's no axe to grind, no political agenda. It's just brilliance.
Thank you for saving me.
Don't waste your life.
The escape sequence is beautiful, man, an essay and a veritable feast of destruction, a main course of dessert with sides of comedy, and dessert in the desert. With that pinpoint flyover, the writers let us assume that Tony put a GPS beacon into Mark I's miniaturized arc reactor. The writers also did a fantastic pivot into the next phase of conflict. One conflict resolved, immediately starts another. Good news, bad news. The change of heart, the news conference, the collision course with the military-industrial complex as Tony Stark pursues the upgrade we've all been expecting. The upgrade that he hopes will stop his weapons from getting into the wrong hands.
Dummy, look alive. You're on standby for fire safety. What?
Scans on lights, not lights on comedy. Talking to his robots and that bump, ouch, how are you not dead? Tony Stark is already Iron Man without the suit. I'd expect him to wear a helmet by now.
Just gonna start off with 1% thrust capacity.
Testing that 1% capacity. Wait, what? Is that all? Anyway, halfway through the film, Tony Stark declares, I can fly. And fly he can, right after that now iconic virtual walk around and check of control surfaces. This gave me goosebumps, turkey bumps, and chills. The test flight. The test flight and icing sets up a plot point for later on, as does the Mark I chess piece that Miss Potts frames in a display case. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? That is lovely. A little bit on the nose, but it is lovely. Cute. Oh, especially since it becomes critical to his survival later on, yeah? Yeah, it's lovely. Oh, and back to the baddies. That is one badass looking villain, isn't he? A really happy bunny, yeah? The seed for the Stark-Potts relationship is sown. The almost moment. Miss Brown rears a pretty head again, and this is where the bad news starts up in a trickle that fast becomes a downpour.
Who do you think locked you out?
Violence has been attributed to the 10 rings.
The suit is complete. No comic book ever written or drawn can give me the pleasure I got from this dress-up, man. I mean, the detail, man, the details. Don't move. I'll go get you a towel. Not even fighting wars. They're terrorizing and killing civilians. They're not even fighting wars. They're terrorizing and killing civilians. Ooh, superhero landing. No! Deadpool loves it. More action porn. And boy, this lot holding hostages, but so exposed. Even without Jarvis, Tony could have taken him out, but it's another opportunity to show off the toys. Took him out without raising his hands. Brilliant.
He's all yours.
Did you just shoot at me, Sherman? How dare you? My turn. Comic book Iron Man wasn't supersonic on his first iteration, but cinematic Iron Man is.
Look, he just looks supersonic. I got a lot.
Brilliant. Engaging raptors, are we? Missile below Iron Man's trail, then above, then below. Flares. More comedy. $84 million training exercise. Be gentle, it's my first time.
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
Are those bullet holes?
And here comes the big reveal that sets us up for the ultimate showdown.
If you killed him when you were supposed to, you'd still have a face.
He paid us trinkets to kill a prince.
Not only does he know 10 rings personally, he actually paid them to kill Tony. Oh, the betrayal. Why?
And you dream of Stark's throne.
The dream of Stark's throne.
I'm gonna find my weapons and destroy them. You stood by my side all these years while I reaped the benefits of destruction. And now that I'm trying to protect the people that I put in harm's way, you're gonna walk out?
You're gonna kill yourself, Tony. I'm not gonna be a part of it.
I shouldn't be alive. Unless it was for a reason. I'm not crazy, Pepper. I just finally know what I have to do. And I know in my heart that it's right.
You're all I have too, you know.
Everything falls into place. Shield agent, the discarded chess piece, the icing problem. Unlike most blockbusters full of air, bollocks, and massive set pieces, a lot of thought went into this. Oh, the cat's out of the bag now, and here comes that line.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not Tony Stark.
None of us are, darling, but Obadiah Stane refuses to go quietly into the night. Steals his egg, buggers off to a prototype that was built instantly, it seems. I mean, bloody hell, that was fast. The big showdown at the end was a big letdown on. There are quicker ways to kill a man, and when villains or heroes throw adversaries across the room instead of snapping their necks like a twig or stomping on their skull and crushing it as Obadiah Stane didn't do, it's risible and the equivalent of playing with your food. Of course, the franchise would be dead before it started if that happened, so no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying kill Iron Man, good lord, no. I'm merely saying that there's a better way to portray this. It's a quick fix too. A missed head stomp would have worked. A slippery grip in an attempt to twist off the ant's head would have maintained suspension of disbelief. The flares were brilliant though. We needed more of that. And with that rooftop blast, we're all wrapped up. I have to agree, the ending was somewhat truncated, but look at where it got us, mate. Got skagging for the next. And the morning and death of Iron Man in Endgame. Iron Man only broke one, and you barely noticed it. All characters must be compelled to act, especially the protagonist, so much so that to not act would be to die, to suffer a horrible death or demise, wherever that might be as dictated by the theme of the story. A passive hero is boring. Iron Man adheres to this law greatly, but in doing so, it bends the law of consistent psychological verisimilitude. You've seen this many times. Ruthless people act out of character so a hero can be rescued, or clever people suddenly become stupid so that the protagonist can win, or a superhero forgets a superpower so the antagonist can win and give us a sequel. A baddie suddenly doesn't know how to fight anymore. The list goes on. Necessity is the mother of invention, and it literally propels this story forward. So, Tony and Yinsen get to know each other and eventually make the Mark I. How? Working around the clock? Although the time wasn't properly conveyed, it was supposed to be 3 months, and Tony is a genius, so that suspends disbelief. But being swept away by the spectacle, there was still a number of questions a few of us failed to ask. Like what? Like why didn't the 10 Rings have someone inside keeping an eye on things? They would have been compelled to. Why didn't they have daily inspections? They would have been compelled to.
Delivery date again.
You have till tomorrow.
How did Tony and Yinsen manage to build that right underneath their noses? As he's getting dressed here, where are they? A most high-profile prisoner being attended to by another prisoner. Even after the 24-hour ultimatum, they still left them alone. Why? Why would they set up cameras in the cave with a blind spot for Tony to operate with impunity? Why? As far as Hollywood movies go, even though at the time with Marvel Studios being a relative newcomer, I really didn't consider this a Hollywood movie. It was the opposite of Hollywood. It was a blockbuster with a brain. It was a joy to watch the comic character of your childhood coming alive on the screen. I mean, I used to draw my own comics all the time. Yes, the film drags up the rusty old tropes and visuals and buffs them to a golden red shine, but it improves on the heads-up display we saw in Terminator 2. It improves on RoboCop with look and soul and makes this splash its own. RoboCop and Batman fought crime on the streets, while Iron Man flies and fights crimes against humanity. It's almost like how performance upgrades can change a car's character from sedate sedan to flaming hot rod with a bespoke exhaust, spoilers, and rims. It's a slow cooker for sure compared to a spider bite and boom or gamma rays and bang, but the film works hard. It works hard to provide a psychological platform to launch Iron Man's existence. In fact, one of the best things about this film that sets off the tenuous plot is the multifaceted characterization of Tony Stark and his arc of transformation. Tony Stark starts out an invincible, cocky weapons manufacturer who inhabits a world populated by lickspittles and groupies. He has a brain, but he's industrious and allows himself time to enjoy the trappings of celebrity and his playboy nature. His armor of snappy wit and sarcasm portray him as an untouchable, cocky, heartless bastard. But the real spine of who he is, his moral code for the foreseeable future, is established and triggered by Yinsen, who knowingly gave his life to save him. That sacrifice, and the soldiers Tony bonds with in the Humvee, soldiers killed by the weapons he made, the attack on Gulmira, these events forge Iron Man's moral core. Thus, his weapons in the wrong hands, persecuting the weak, become the personified antagonists, along with the Obadiah stain on his legacy that Tony rails to bring down. He wants control over his arsenal and is compelled to wrest it from his mentor. He is not the heartless man Miss Brown accuses him of being, and with a foray into Yinsen's hometown of Gomera, he fights not for himself anymore, giving us the slow but neat birth of Iron Man. He is a man who starts out thinking himself invincible, armor-plated and virtuous, but by the end, he's a superhero sporting a damaged heart, supported by an arc reactor, touched by mortality and a degree of humility. But above it all, he's armed with a conscience. A billionaire with a conscience. It's anachronistic, I know, just like a blockbuster with a brain. It's a blockbuster with a brain.
So ranking Iron Man 15 in the MCU is like upsetting a bowl of milk, senor, or sending a drop flying to land on a cat's boot. This is asking for a fight, you know?
But we won't. What did you think of Iron Man? Do you think Iron Man ranks 15 in the MCU? What's your top 5? Comment below, please. Anyway, you just supported my writing habit.
Subscribe so I can thank you properly with a free copy of Volume 1 of my sci-fi trilogy, TCP.
Thanks to you, I'm converting 25 screenplays into novels. They're all sci-fi, some of them are trilogies, and the first volumes are free to subscribers.
If perchance you're not the reading type and just like the content, thank you all the same. Your simple act of watching, liking, and subscribing gives my life meaning, and I want to thank you for it. So do subscribe for this, more, and other rewards that might be coming your way. Thanks for watching.
Do you know that Top Gun Maverick is not about planes in the US Navy? I heard some crazy thoughts, the afterlife and all that, but I've not heard anyone talk about the soul hidden in plain sight. And if you missed the soul of this film, you only watched half a film. Did you miss it as well? Watch this next to find out.